Alright, welcome back to the channel. The NFL season is over. If you've been here before, you know I'm a Colts fan. It hasn't been a great previous 2 months, but it's finally done. The season's over. We're on to the postseason. Yeah, let's get to it. So, in this, I'm going to take a look back at my regular season predictions and postseason predictions before we get to predicting the new set playoffs. And if I talk about the Colts a little bit too long, I'm sorry in advance. I do plan on making a Colts specific video. That probably won't come until after the season's over, just because I'm doing this video. I'm going to be doing a mock draft video hopefully by the end of the week, and it probably just won't happen soon. It'll probably be like another month, or maybe before the playoffs end, but we'll see. But let's get into it. Starting with the AFC North. So right away we come to a division where injuries drastically affected the outcome of this division. I predicted the Ravens to win the AFC North. At 13 games, they won 8. And that included a long winning streak when Lamar Jackson came back. But he missed games. So the Ravens were not on track to win 13 games, obviously. They win 8. And the Cincinnati Bengals right underneath that. I thought they'd be a wild card team. They were not. They won half as many games as I thought they would. Obviously, Burrow missed plenty of time, almost 3 months of the season. Jake Browning wasn't able to lead them to some wins like he had in the past. They tried Joe Flacco. He wasn't able to keep them afloat, much like he wasn't able to keep the Colts afloat last year. It just wasn't going to happen. So neither team was able to exceed or even meet my expectations, even come halfway to my expectations. And then you've got Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. I figured they'd go 9-8. I thought the Ravens would win that game. Let's see, by the time this video gets posted, it'll be 2.5 days. So I thought the Steelers would lose to the Ravens. Some shenanigans with extra points happened. Extra point and a field goal. Regardless, the Steelers are in the playoffs with a 10-7 record. And the Cleveland Browns are the only team that actually drastically exceeded my expectations, I guess. Had them winning 2 games, and they won 5. So, they won 5 at least. I believe Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders both won a game, or did Shedeur end up winning 2? I think Shedeur might have had 2. Did Joe Flacco win 2 with them? I think is what that must have been, and then he was traded to the Bengals. So the Browns get a +3 to my expectation. Didn't think they'd be good. They still weren't, with the exception of Myles Garrett, who breaks the sack record. That helps. But yeah, the AFC North, pretty backwards from what I expected. And again, a lot of that due to the injuries and time missed for Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Going to the AFC South, here's the thing. I had the Colts at 7 wins. The Colts were 7-1 at one point this season. The Colts were 8-2. The Colts, when I made my QB ranking video, I believe the Colts were still in the 1 seed. I'll have to check back on the timing there. The Colts' downfall, and then the night that we had already been eliminated, but the night of the season ending, it's announced, they're gonna keep Ballard and they're gonna keep Steichen. I don't mind Steichen as much, I suppose, but it's time for Chris Ballard, dude. And I know he had a previously good reputation from the Chiefs, and people have talked about him like he's one of the best GMs in the league because of Quentin Nelson, I guess, and Jonathan Taylor's been so good. It's past time. It's been 10 years and we haven't won a playoff game. But we exceeded my expectations, I guess, because we won 8 games. So, can't wait to go 8-9 again next year. Anyway, starting at the top, I did think the Houston Texans would win the division. They won 2 more games than I thought they would. They do make the playoffs, so there's that at least. Jacksonville I had out at 8-9. They win 13 games. Both the Jags and Texans go on massive win streaks to end the season. Neither one looked particularly good against the Colts in their final matchups, as Riley Leonard had us in position to beat the Texans. But didn't happen, so they get the win, and the Colts get the losses. And then the Tennessee Titans, the first team I was spot on about, 3-14. The roster just didn't look good at the beginning of the season. I figured Cam Ward would struggle. He did. The run game wasn't particularly good. The O-line wasn't particularly good. At least you've got Jeffrey Simmons on defense. That's a good start, I suppose. Some promising young players, I suppose, as well. They fired Callahan like early on, didn't they? Am I right? Am I wrong? It wasn't a good team on paper, and they proved that. So, that's the AFC South. My Colts. I didn't have faith in them, and then the first 2 months of the season happened, and I had a lot of faith. And I thought, there's no way we'll go 0-7 to end the season. And we do. And part of that, yes, Daniel Jones, as of the Steelers game, when he had 5 turnovers, did not look good in that game. He had a broken bone in his femur, and then the Jags game happened, and that ended his season. So it's still tough to think about, and it's tough to think about coming off the Pacers season. Excuse me. Where you had them get within winning 1 game of being champions. You've had the recent Colts history of bizarre quarterbacks coming through here. You've got Phillip Rivers coming back again in 2025. It was pretty insane, and it's been kind of too overly insane for a long time, and I feel like you just really shouldn't be having Chris Ballard remain as the GM. I would say, though, to counter my own points, who would want to be the GM of the Colts? Who would want this job? You don't know what's going on at quarterback. You've traded your 2 first-round picks, and I like Sauce Gardner, and he was hurt basically as soon as he got here. You've got other impactful players that have been hurt a lot this season. DeForest Buckner, Javarius Ward, who's contemplating retiring again with his 3rd concussion of the year. It's rough. I'm going to move on because I do want to do an entire video on the Colts, but yeah. In the end, I was pretty close. I was within 1 game of predicting their record and predicting that we would not make the playoffs. Does that bring me joy? No, it does not. I would have rather we win 10, 12 games and make the playoffs, but it is what it is. Going to the AFC East, I had the Buffalo Bills winning the division with 14 games. They do make the playoffs with 12 wins. I did have the Patriots at finishing second. They win 14 games, so I did not expect the massive Drake May leap. I expected him to be better, and he was pretty good as a rookie. He didn't start the entire season, so if you just looked at his stats from last year, you might be like, oh, he didn't do that much. Well, he didn't play that much, so I did expect him to be good because I liked him as a prospect, and I didn't think the Patriots were a 14-3 caliber roster. He really got the most out of almost everyone on that team. Stephon Diggs looked great at times, and there's a chance he's going to be suspended for the playoffs. Or at least a game. The same with Christian Barmore. They traded off Keon White and Kyle Duggar mid-season. Travion Henderson looked awesome at times. Ramondre Stevenson looked awesome at times. Like, they seem to have the key pieces in place to be good for the playoffs. So they could be kind of scary to play against. The Miami Dolphins, I had 8-9 missing the playoffs. It's not a shock that they only win 7 games. It's kind of shocking how it happened. I did not think Quinn Ewers would be playing as much. I didn't think Tua would get benched. If anything, unfortunately, if Tua wasn't playing, I would have predicted it would have been because of another concussion. But at least he didn't get a concussion again this year. But he was benched. They weren't looking that good. During the middle portion of the season, they brought it back. They were in contention with a few weeks to go, but unable to get the job done. And then the Jets at 3-14, I had them at 4 wins. Another team that just on paper did not look great at the beginning of the season. I love Justin Fields. Justin Fields just isn't going to be a franchise quarterback. It's just not going to happen. Backup quarterback? Yeah. He's good enough to be a top 64 quarterback in the NFL. 32, that's a little rich. And he's gotten rich from the Steelers and the Jets paying him like he's borderline starting quarterback material, and he's kind of just not. I hate to say it, because I like him. He's from the Ohio State University, which is also a bummer. Completely off topic, but Ohio State going out against Miami, that was a bummer as a Ohio State fan. Go IU, I guess. But that's the AFC East. Patriots already back to form. They're ready to be better than the Bills again for the next 15 years. Yay! Everyone's super excited about that, right? Going to the AFC West again. This isn't an injury one necessarily, but it's another one where I was off. The Kansas City Chiefs. I remember in my prediction video, again, I feel like I shout out Mullet like every video, but he watches every video, so that's why. Shout out to Mullet. I remember Mullet commented something along the lines of, he felt like I was giving the Chiefs too many wins, but it wasn't like they were going to completely fall off and miss the playoffs. And I could agree with that. 14 wins was probably steep for their roster overall. But in my mind, because I think Patrick Mahomes is still at minimum a top 2 quarterback, I felt like he was going to drag them to that many wins. You saw a Patriots team this year win 14 games. You saw the Denver Broncos, led by Bo Nix there, go to 14 wins. I thought surely Kansas City will still be a playoff team and still be a very good team, even with their deficiencies, which some were obvious. Receivers, the running game, defense outside of Chris Jones, and you hope Trent McDuffie, who's been banged up at times. They were very bad before Patrick Mahomes got hurt. And they ended the season very poorly as well. So, Kansas City Chiefs this season, just not it. Obviously, winning 8 fewer games than I predicted. This is the farthest off team in the entire NFL that I was predicting. I don't know what to say about that one. I thought they'd be a top 5 team still. I really did. And a lot of that is because Patrick Mahomes. And I don't want to sound like any particular commentators. Oh, Patrick Mahomes! Patrick Mahomes! But seriously, I thought, well, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to lead them to the playoffs. They've made 5 Super Bowls with him. And they were bad. So, I don't know what you do with that. I don't know what kind of changes there are to be made for that team of significance. I don't think there's major coaching changes coming. You've got Mahomes now going to have to rehab this offseason. I think Jeremiah Love, not not necessarily a spoiler for my mock draft. I haven't done my mock draft for my next video, but he's going to be a popular candidate for the Kansas City Chiefs draft pick in the top 10 now. And there's reason to that. I liked Isaiah Pacheco. He doesn't seem to have the same explosive run-through playing style anymore due to injuries. You probably do need a every down running back. They've got some question marks on the offensive line, I'll say that nicely. They've got some holes on defense. Just weren't a good team this year. The Denver Broncos, on the other hand, a great team this year. They lost to the Colts on that leverage call, and then they won out and win the division. Chargers do make the playoffs as well. I did have them making the playoffs with 10 wins. They win 11, so I feel pretty good about how I thought the Broncos and Chargers overall would go. The Raiders, there were some people having the Raiders in the playoffs. Pete Carroll was a well thought of coaching hire at the time. It didn't work out. They won 3 games. And obviously, Geno Smith is a question mark going forward. Ashton Genty didn't look like the best of picks. I think he'll have a good career with the Raiders. But you don't really draft a running... And I know I just said, oh, the Chiefs might draft Jeremiah Love, even though they have all these holes. For the Raiders, they had more holes than the Chiefs. So to take a running back in the top 10 at, 6, I believe Genty was, probably was too rich for the Raiders. They have a lot of problems on defense other than Max Crosby, and he could be a trade piece this offseason for them. So not too much hope with the Raiders right now. They did fire Pete Carroll. See who gets in there and tries to lead the Raiders to more than 3 wins next year. Hopefully they can accomplish that. So here's the AFC in its entirety. My predictions on the left, I had the Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, and Texans as division winners. Bengals, Broncos, and Chargers making the playoffs. Final standings, Broncos, Patriots, Jags, and Steelers win their divisions, with the Texans, Bills, and Chargers making it in. Did get 4 teams in. Not the best. Not, other than the Chargers, only one team that was a wild card team that I predicted to be a wild card team. I didn't get any division winners right. Not great. Not great on my part. I'll have to do better next season, I guess. Going to the NFC, another division where pretty up and down. I had the Green Bay Packers winning 13 games. They won 9. But they do make the playoffs with 9. So the tie with the Cowboys, it wasn't a great season. Micah Parsons obviously getting hurt toward the end of the season. Jordan Love missed some games, but Malik Willis kept them in games. He's probably going to get a decent little Justin Fields size contract from somebody like the Jets. Detroit, picking them to win 10 games. They only won 1 fewer game, but they finished 4th in the division because of that. With 10 wins, they're second place and they make the playoffs, but at 9, they miss out. Tough season for Detroit. I feel like last year, and I think this is probably a pretty common sentiment, but last year was their year. And they had so many injuries on defense, they just weren't able to compete at the end when they needed to. But yeah, Detroit winning 9 games. It's a winning season. I doubt it really feels like it to them. Then there's the Bears, who win the division. I had them at 7 wins. They win 11, win the North. Did not think this was a team ready to do that. Rookie head coach in Ben Johnson should be considered for Coach of the Year. I don't think he'll win it. My vote, despite being a Colts fan, would probably go to Cohen for the Jags. I don't think most people had them making the playoffs, let alone winning the division. I don't know, what's more impressive, that they made the playoffs at all or that they won the division? Because most people didn't think too much of the AFC South going in. I think the amount of games they won was actually more impressive than winning the division. But anyway, the Minnesota Vikings, they got to 9-8, which I feel like I saw a lot of Minnesota Vikings games this year, and I saw McCarthy, and I saw Wentz, and I saw Max Brosmer, which I guess it's pronounced Brosmer and not Brosmer, which I was disappointed to learn. I thought it was Brosmer. Bro was probably, I don't want to say the worst quarterback I saw this season, because it's mean, but it's probably true. Things didn't go well under Max Brosmer, we'll say. But they finished 9-8. Like, that's a winning season, despite not making the playoffs, so if you would have told me the Vikings and Lions both finished 9-8, I probably would have guessed they both made the playoffs. It just didn't happen. To the NFC South, the perceived worst division in football. It was the worst division in football. I picked Tampa Bay to win at 9-8. This was not a crazy concept for the team that would win the division to have a losing record. So the Panthers end up winning it at 8-9. The Bucks finish 8-9. The Falcons finish 8-9. If you could ever have a definitive NFC South style of season, this was it. You got 3 teams go 8-9. That is the exact perception of these teams year by year. And the Panthers, great for them that they won. They're going to get to host a playoff game. Another mild spoiler alert, I don't think them hosting a playoff game is going to help them in the playoffs. I don't think they're a good enough team to win a playoff game. The Buccaneers, they blew it. They sold. Whatever else you want to say, it was not a good finish to the season at all. Baker Mayfield looked like an MVP candidate early on. I think they had a more drastic fall-off than the Colts, to be honest with you. And I'm not just trying to pass the buck. The Colts were terrible for 2 months. I'm not trying to take away from that, but Tampa Bay, and Bucky Irving missed some games. I know they had some receivers that were in and out. Emeka Egbuka disappeared. He had a great start for like 5 weeks, and then was just gone. Chris Godwin had like 1 good game all year. Mike Evans had a few. Cade Otton caught his first touchdown in the final week of the season. Just a weird team. They just couldn't get the job done, much like the Colts. And then the Falcons, they won a meaningless game with the Jets, and then ended up losing out. This is a team that beat the Bills early in the season. If we remember that, I believe it was a Monday night game. Or maybe Sunday night. Beat the Bills, looked good. Everyone said they have arrived. They've gotten their pass rushers. Michael Penix looks pretty good. Well, he got hurt. Kirk Cousins wasn't terrible. He wasn't necessarily good, but he wasn't awful. Try to give a little extra analysis for Mullet. Bijan was great. Bijan looks great. Kyle Pitts continued his streak of increasing his amount of touchdowns by 1 every season. I'd re-sign him if I was the Falcons. I think he's one of your better players, even if he hasn't been like a Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Jimmy Graham level tight end, which when you draft a guy at 4, that's kind of what you expect, but that's not the reality, so you just kind of go with what you got. And I think Kyle Pitts is one of your top 5 at worst offensive players. Bijan, probably the best player on the team. You've still got good offensive linemen. Drake London looks great as a true wide receiver 1. You still need more receivers, I would say. And if Michael Penix is going to miss time next year to start the season, you might need another quarterback. I don't think you probably want to roll with Kirk Cousins again. So we'll see what they do, if they do anything at that position. And then the Saints do win 2 more games than I thought they would. Tyler Shuck looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Most people kind of wrote off Shuck like week 1 when Spencer Rattler was named the starter, and he played for a few games and didn't look terrible, but was bench, and I think that was the best decision to go to Shuck at that time. The Saints still have a lot of problems, and we'll see if they can compete. They probably can, because if you only win 2 more games and you get to 8 wins, you could win the division, because that's the way it works in the NFC South. Next, we got the NFC East. I did predict the Eagles to win the division, and they do. Did not look great really all season. They had that loss to the Giants where Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo just dominated them. But they get to 11 wins. They win the division. Washington Commanders really didn't have a chance to do anything this year. They're another team like the Chiefs where they just weren't a very good team, and I overestimated them headed into the season. Yes, Jaden Daniels missing so many games obviously hurt them. They obviously weren't as good with Marcus Mariota out there. They had Josh Johnson playing Week 18. It wasn't great. But they also just weren't that good of a team before then. So winning 5 games, I certainly wouldn't have expected that, even with Jaden Daniels missing time. But yeah, they were quite bad. Dallas did a little better than I thought they would. And, Dak, statistically, another good season. George Pickens was great. All-pro type of season at receiver. CeeDee Lamb was still pretty good, but did have some drops at crucial moments. They just let Trayvon Diggs go. They waived him. Picked up by the Packers. I'm sure Packers fans are going to be very happy about that one. Not really. I don't think Trayvon Diggs is the same Trayvon Diggs from how many years has it been since he was a really good corner? 3? Which is unfortunate. I liked Trayvon Diggs as a player. I think he got overpaid, because of the interceptions he had for like a 2-year stretch. And Dallas wins 7 games. So, but Jerry's gonna have him back in the mix. I'm sure they'll turn it around and win that Super Bowl eventually, right? Then you got the Giants, another team I was spot on with. They win 4 games. I guess I thought Russell Wilson would play a few more games than he did. They kind of turned to Dart very early. But it seems like that was the correct option. He did get banged up. They played Russ again. They played Jameis Winston a bit. It just wasn't a very good year. And Brian Daboll was fired. So I guess kind of an expected season for the Giants, as I was spot on with their record. To the NFC West, the best division in football. I did not have 3 teams making it, and unfortunately I did not have the Seahawks making the playoffs. They win 14 games and get the 1 seed. Of course they do. I had them winning 9. I wasn't, super far off from them making the playoffs. They missed it by a game. But I did have the Niners in there, only a game off. I did have the Rams making it as the two games off. Great division, and we saw some great games. Seahawks-Rams, that game where Darnold brought him back like instantly and went for 2 a couple times and won the game. That was a great game, and I expect that, another mild spoiler, if those teams are to meet again in the playoffs, which is possible, I would expect another great game between them. I'll just leave it at that for now. The Rams, I believe Matt Stafford probably is the MVP. I think it's probably close with Josh Allen, probably even close with Drake May. I don't think there's anyone else that's really close. I mean, James Cook isn't going to win the MVP. Myles Garrett isn't going to win the MVP. He'll win Defensive Player for having the sack record. But we're talking about MVP. The Browns won far too few games for him to be considered MVP. Maybe if he had 25 or more sacks, and it's just like incredible, super team altering, and the Browns have won a few more games. But that's not the case, so it's not really worth talking about. I do think Stafford will win it. And Josh Allen was quite far behind in terms of passing touchdowns, but he made up for it with 14 rushing touchdowns. So you could see Josh maybe win it. For me, it's Matt Stafford, and I don't think it's that close, personally. But getting the Rams to 12-5, some tough losses. The one particularly to the Seahawks. Puka was kind of crazy this year. Puka had a great year and did some weird things, but he is a top 5 receiver. I think that's been solidified this year. I think I called him a top 3 receiver, and he's not 2 or 3 early in the season as kind of a joke, but it's true. I think he's a top 5 talent at the position. And Devontae Adams led the league in touchdowns despite not having a ton of catches. The Rams defense, I've said this a few times, but the defense really hasn't fallen away ever since Aaron Donald retired, which is amazing to think about. I don't think they have an amazing secondary, but the players that they've drafted and developed in the front 7 are great. Byron Young on the edge. I'm trying to think of everybody. Brandon Fisk. Who am I forgetting? Josiah Stewart's like their 3rd edge player. I'm forgetting someone. And I'm forgetting Kobe Turner. They've had some... what is it? Omer Spates is the undrafted linebacker. They've been able to find great players to plug in since Aaron Donald retired, and it's worked, and they've had a great defense still. 49ers, picking them to win the division, they still win 12 games and they finished 3rd, is pretty insane. They had lots of injuries. Brock Purdy missed games, Mac Jones looked very good. Christian McCaffrey stayed healthy. Brandon Ayuk, where is bro? Is bro even going to play in the NFL again? I don't know. George Kittle missed games. Trent Williams missed games. Nick Bosa missed games. Fred Warner missed games. Kind of an insane injury season for them to be a 12-win team. Like, the Colts had all these injuries and were not prepared and fell to 8-9. The Niners had all these injuries. They still win 12 games. A pretty incredible season for them. And then the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't want to end on a huge Arizona Cardinals rant. but I'm going to, I guess. I keep seeing, and they did fire their coach, Gannon. I keep seeing a lot of positivity for Cardinals. It's a team that hasn't... They won 8 games a few years ago. So at least there's that. Or was that just even last year? Before that, they'd won 4 and they'd won 4. In 3 of the last 4 seasons, they've won under 5 games. They are not close to being a playoff team. Kyler Murray, at his best... Oops, what's that? Did my timing just stop? No, it's still going. All right. Kyler Murray at his best, if he stays healthy, can be a top 15-ish caliber quarterback. Yeah, their run game was banged up, both James Conner and Trey Benson. Michael Harrison. Marvin Harrison. Am I having a stroke? Am I okay? Marvin Harrison Jr. You'd think I would know how to say his name. He had some really bad case of the drops early in the season. Michael Wilson seemed like the best receiver on the team this year. I still think they need another receiver. You know, Trey McBride was awesome. He's on the level of where Kelsey and Gronk were, where it's him and then there's everyone else at the tight end position. Their offensive line could use some work. Walter Nolan, you know, I liked him as a prospect. I never had the Cardinals drafting D-line because I thought they had more holes on offense to fill. And now I feel like they still have those same holes on offense to fill. And they might move on from Kyler Murray. And they still have holes on defense. I think they still have needs in the front seven, the D-line, edge rushers, linebackers. Sean Murphy Bunting got hurt immediately before the season, and that was a big blow for their secondary. Is Budda Baker going to be around? He's got 2 years left on his deal, but can you get something for him? Because he's not... They're just bad. I don't know what else to say about the Cardinals. I know there was one commenter in one of my past videos that had some pushback on mock draft I had for them. I think that was giving them Matthew Golden, who in fairness didn't have a spectacular rookie season. But I agree with my process on giving them a wide receiver this year because they need another receiver. Marvin's great in theory. Michael Wilson is very good. Not in theory, on the field he's been very good. I think they need another receiver. They probably need another running back. James Conner could be cut. I think they need work on the offensive line. Paris Johnson's a decent tackle. I think left guard through right tackle could need some improvement. I think the entirety of the defense could need some improvement. Josh Sweat had a Pro Bowl caliber season. I think he didn't make it because the Cardinals were so bad. Walter Nolan, good D-line prospect. You got Dalvin Tomlinson, who was cut last offseason by the Browns. He's probably a cap casualty this year again. Blon Nichols barely played. I think he's probably going to be cut. I didn't expect to go all in on the Cardinals here, but why do we think they're a piece away? They're in the toughest division. They just won 3 games. They're going to be having a new coach. I don't foresee them being good next year. I'm sorry to the Cardinals fan that commented last mock draft cycle. I'm gonna try to help them out best I can again. And if you see that video and you're like, oh, there's no way they draft this player, just know I'm trying to help them. If it's a 1-round mock draft, I can only solve so many things with 1 pick. I'm sorry. I'll do a 3-round mock at some point. I'll try to be good for them. I'll try. But we are going to move on because I spent like 5 minutes on the Cardinals. Looking at the playoffs as a whole, I had the Eagles, Packers, Niners, and Bucks winning their divisions, with the Commanders, Rams, and Lions getting the wildcard spots. In reality, the Seahawks, Bears, Eagles, and Panthers win their divisions, with Rams, Niners, and Packers getting the wildcards. So just like the AFC, 4 out of 7. Not great. I do feel justified with my picks again. The Bucks I thought were the best team in that division. Commanders with Jaden Daniels I thought maybe wouldn't look as great, but I thought would still be a playoff team. And I thought the Lions, led by Jared Goff, who I think is still a top 10 quarterback. I think Jahmyr Gibbs quite easily is a top 5 running back. I think their O-line is still quite good despite some question marks. I think they have some pieces on defense that still can make them a great defense. Mainly Aiden Hutchinson. But they need some work. Even going with 9 wins this year, they need some work. Now we can look at my playoff predictions from the previous video, and I won't spend too much time on this because they're essentially irrelevant. I did have the Kansas City Chiefs winning 2 playoff games, and they don't make the playoffs. I had the Baltimore Ravens winning a playoff game, they don't make it. I had the Bengals winning a playoff game, and they didn't make it. I had the Commanders winning a playoff game, and they didn't make it. Ultimately, I did pick the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl over the Philadelphia Eagles. So it would be hard to move off of that prediction. It would be hard, but we'll see if I do. So here are the upcoming games for week one. Week one? The wild card round. I don't know why I would call it week one. The Broncos and the Seahawks, of course, have the bye weeks as they are the number one seeds. In the AFC, you've got Patriots, Chargers, Jags, Bills, Steelers, Texans, and of course the lower seed is the away team. In the NFC, Bears, Packers, division matchup. Eagles, Niners, and Panthers, Rams. So, here's my thoughts. Patriots over the Chargers at home. A lot of people are liking the Jaguars. They did struggle to beat Riley Leonard a bit, so I'm not all in on the Jags right now. I do like Trevor. I did say I think Cohen's the coach of the year, but the Bills have Josh Allen. That's kind of an X factor type of advantage, I think, right now. So I am picking the Bills. And a lot of people like the Texans right now, too. I know the Steelers just barely got in, beating the Ravens, but they're a 10-win team. I think the experience of Rodgers and Mike Tomlin give them also a little bit of an advantage. I'm starting to lose my ability to talk here. Moving to the NFC, Bears beat the Packers in a close one, in my little score prediction there, which is irrelevant also, probably, but they just beat them. They just beat them? No, they didn't just beat them. They just lost to the Packers. They just lost to the Packers last week, didn't they? They're at home. There's no Aaron Rodgers to beat them, to own them, quote unquote. And man, what if the potential Super Bowl matchup of the Steelers-Packers? I hadn't thought of this. Aaron Rodgers versus the Packers in the Super Bowl would be kind of crazy. But I am going with the Bears over the Packers, excuse me. Then we've got Jalen Hurts and the Eagles beating the Niners. This was a really, really tough one. Because I do like the 49ers a lot. The Eagles have not played great football this season, but I do think they find a way to get it done. And then, probably in the most lopsided projection for most people headed into this wildcard round, I am going with the Rams over the Panthers on the road. My lone road team. Nope, that's not true. Two road teams winning in this first round, Bills and Rams. Next round, we've got the one seeds coming into play, so the Broncos and Bills, Patriots, Steelers, Seahawks, Rams, division matchup, and Bears, Eagles. And again, here's what I'm thinking. Now, I did this, and I realize it's all four road teams. I realize that's kind of crazy to predict. But I do have the Bills upsetting the Broncos and the Rams upsetting the Seahawks. Both one seeds out without a win. Probably, quote-unquote, controversial. I don't think most people will probably share this opinion. But I look at the coaching, I look at the quarterbacks, and just try to make the best guess I can. I do think the Bills will find a way to get it done. And I think the Rams, going back to that previous game where they kind of fell apart and Sam Darnold cooked them at the end, I do think the Rams will find a way to get it done. And even the other two games, Steelers over Patriots, Eagles over Bears. For the Bears, even though, despite being the 2 seed, I gave them a win. I don't really see them being serious Super Bowl contenders. We'll see. With the Patriots, I give them a win as well. Drake May's been awesome this season. Again, it's like, the Steelers, really? The Steelers are going to win? I think they've got enough to do it. I think they've got the potential on defense to still be dominant. DK Metcalf's going to be coming back. I think they've got just enough to get it done against the Patriots here. Now we've got the conference championships. Kind of weird. You got the 4 and the 6 in the AFC and the 3 and the 5 in the NFC. And yeah, once again, it's the road teams. My Super Bowl prediction is Bills versus Rams. The 6 and the 5. two of my MVP candidates. As I said, I think Matt Stafford is the MVP, and I think Josh Allen is second. Did that factor into my predictions? Of course it did. Of course. So, yes, I think Matt Stafford can lead the Rams to the Super Bowl again. And without Patrick Mahomes being in the playoffs, without Lamar Jackson being in the playoffs, I think Josh Allen can lead the Bills to the Super Bowl as well. So, here's the matchup. The 6-seed Bills, the 5-seed Rams. Who takes it? It's the Bills. 27-24, my arbitrary score prediction. I just think it's the Bills. I think it's their year, much like I thought it seemed like the Lions' year last year. I think this is it for the Bills. If they do not win the Super Bowl, there's going to be people calling for Sean McDermott to be fired. There's already people calling for that. There has been. But I'm sticking with my prediction. I'm sticking with the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, this time around, I've got the Rams making it in the NFC. My last video did not have the Rams, so I'm shaking it up a little bit. But throughout the preseason, I thought maybe the Niners, I thought maybe the Eagles. We're going with the Rams because I do think Matt Stafford is good enough to carry them there. But ultimately, we're giving it to the Bills. So here's a little recap. Thanks to the Playoff Predictors website for not the schedule. What is this? The graphic? The bracket. The bracket. There we go. So, yeah, knocking out the 1 seeds without a win is pretty rough. You had 6 straight games won by the road teams is pretty rare and hard to believe would actually happen. But it's what I'm going with. I've picked the Bills, so it's where we are. So that's that. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. Let me know. You can say, gosh, Skillet, I can't believe you didn't have the Green Bay Packers winning the Super Bowl. Everyone thinks the Packers are winning, dude. Why would you not have the Packers? Or you could say, Bills, don't you know that Keon Coleman plays for the Bills and therefore there's no chance they win the Super Bowl? You could have that point. You could have that argument. And you'd kind of be justified on that one. But that's my thoughts. So Buffalo Bills, my prediction. And that's pretty much that. So coming soon, a mock draft video. I'll try to have that before the end of the week. As I mentioned, my Colts breakdown video. We're going to do another QB rankings / tier list. Some sort of QB breakdown. And then non-related to the NFL videos. And I didn't write this down, I guess, but streaming. When am I ever going to stream again? I don't know. Maybe soon. We'll see. And we'll see what games. I don't know. So that's TBD. But another Pacers breakdown video. I'd like to do another one of those before the end of the season. It's not been a good season. It's not been fun. But I have hope, quote unquote, hope for the future. We'll see if it gets any better. I don't know, man. And I mean past this season, but I don't know if it's ever going to be as good as within one game of winning the finals. And then I could do an NBA mock draft video. So that's all that says. There's nothing else that it says there. So again, thanks for watching. This has definitely been only an NFL video and not Uma Musume propaganda. And that's that. So Godspeed, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.